Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. This is Bethany Dotson, relationship coach and yoga therapist for high achieving women who are sick and tired of being sick and tired and finally want to break their unhealthy pattern of getting with fixer-uppers, seeing the potential and not the reality, and getting projects instead of partners. So I wanted to hop on today and talk to you about really the one and only thing that you will ever need. This is the one ingredient in your arsenal that you will really ever need in order to not only attract a healthy relationship. This will also amplify and decrease the amount of time in your healing. This will amplify your healing. This will help you in any area of your life, whether that is getting a new job, whether that is taking action on your dreams that you've been sitting on for many, many years. This is the one key thing that is going to be the deal breaker for you in getting what you want in a relationship. And the number one thing is what I call your emotional home. Your emotional home. It's not necessarily confidence. It's not necessarily learning how to say the right things. It's not necessarily your self-esteem, your self-worth, your value. Those things are important. Your confidence and your self-worth are important, but it's not the whole shebang. Those actually follow and fall naturally into place when you have a very elevated, heightened, strong, healthy emotional home. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what exactly that is here in just a second. But I just want to be clear that attracting the right partner, receiving the right relationship for you, it's not about the dating apps you go on. It's not about the number of dates you go on a month, right? It's not about what city you live in. I hear a lot of people complain that I live in such and such city and it's so hard here, all the guys are X, Y, and Z. It's not about your past. It's not about your exes. It's not about how old you are. It's not whether you want kids or don't want kids. The biggest determining factor that is going to make or break your ability to end oftentimes a lifelong pattern of unavailability and unhealthy dynamics in your intimate relationships is your emotional home. So your emotional home is kind of like your resting heart rate. When you go to the doctor, they take your pulse and they get your resting heart rate, right? And if you have a high resting heart rate, you possibly have hypertension or high blood pressure. That's kind of a warning flag. If you have really low heart rate, sometimes that can be a red flag too. But your emotional home is where you live normally on a day-to-day basis emotionally. So here's the thing. Research and statistics show that 90% of society lives in some form of fear. So that could be anxiety, uncertainty, doubt. They're in a job that they don't like. They're always worried about their money or their finances, or they're worried about coronavirus and what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with their future. Society, 90% of society lives in fear, shame, repressed emotion. And so emotions have a vibrational frequency, just like music has a vibrational frequency. If you play or blow into a dog whistle, you can't hear that sound yourself with your audible ear, but the animal can hear it, the dog can hear it. And it's the same kind of concept with your emotions. Your emotions emit a vibrational frequency that you can't see. And here's how this magically works in the world of the law of attraction. When you live in a lower emotional home, meaning you wake up in anxiety, most of the time you're in a sense of dread or apathy. Apathy is a really, really big one that we see a lot. Just kind of like same crap, different day type of an attitude. You feel stuck. There's something missing in your life. You've tried all of the healing traditional healing methods, therapy, books, all kinds of stuff, and yet you still feel like something is missing in your life. You've tried to move to a different location, you've tried a different job, you've tried a new hobby, you've done all the right things, but you're just not quite getting it. That is a lower emotional frequency. Waking up feeling, kind of dreading your day, waking up and not having any excitement or joy. You wake up and you immediately start thinking about your to-do list and all the stuff you have to get done. You start feeling overwhelmed and like, how am I going to get all this done? You wake up and think about your problems. And 90% of the world lives like this. And that is a state of fear. And if you are a TV watcher, there's a lot of external validation that is feeding you more fear. So just from a geeky scientific standpoint, when we watch TV, we are more or less in a highly suggestible state, such as being under hypnosis, right? So when you go under hypnosis, you have to be very, very relaxed. You have to be, your brainwaves have to be in a certain very slow rhythm, because that slow rhythm allows information to easily absorb and pass through. That's why maybe if you watch a movie before you go to bed, a scary movie, then you're going to have nightmares during your sleep, something along those lines. But when we watch TV and when we watch the news, especially the news, FYI, is programmed. The news is programmed to produce and report on fearful-based things in the world, because it's based on ratings, and ratings come from click-through, and people click through on a news headline when it's scary, when it's sensational, when it's tragic, when it's like the end of the world, right? And so when we have so much exposure from the external that's validating all of this fear, and we, sit in front of the news, or the first thing that we do when we wake up in the morning is open up our phone and look at CNN, or look at the news, or look at Facebook and look at all the people that didn't like your post, you immediately go into fear, some form of fear, low-level emotion. Apathy is just kind of fear turned inward. Most people get depressed because they just feel stuck in life, and that all of that is a low-level frequency. And so if you've had toxic or traumatic relationships, if you have any kind of relational trauma, meaning trauma that happens between you and someone that you supposedly trusted with your heart, with your emotions, with your tender, shaky self, right? And vulnerability, and they betrayed you in some way, especially when this happens in childhood, our brains literally get mapped and wired in a different way. We get skewed. The wiring and the mapping in the brain lays down in such a pattern that we blindly go through life from this fear-based lens. And most of the time, we're not even aware of it. It just comes about as, something always feels like it's a miss. We're looking for love, but we always get emotionally unavailable people. We always attract emotional abusers. We're looking for fulfillment in life, but we always struggle with money, or we always get into jobs that aren't really our passion, and we're too afraid to pursue our passion and live on purpose and earn an amazing income doing it. So when we have that type of mapping in our brain, we blindly seek out other people that have similar mapping, because we are emitting that low-level emotional frequency. And that low-level emotional frequency, and it can be just a little bit, right? We can try to pile on all the expensive clothes, all of the makeup, get a nice car, take ourselves on trips that we can't afford, buy an apartment or rent an apartment that we can't really afford, or buy the house that we can't really afford, to cover that up. But underneath, what's happening, if at the core and at the root of who you are, there's a part of you that is not happy, and you're trying to fill the void with stuff and with people and with partners, you have a low-level emotional home. And every once in a while, this is why toxic relationships can be so addictive and why people fall into this trap so easily again and again, is that when we consistently have like an apathetic, low frequency in our emotions, we will take occasional day trips up to positive emotions when we meet someone, right? That's why love bombing is so hypnotic. It's because oftentimes the person that is being love bombed doesn't fully live already in a high level emotional home. They're living kind of in apathy. And this person that sweeps in, all of a sudden and is wooing them and telling them that they're the best person that they've ever met and putting them up on a pedestal, that's a day trip up to a high frequency emotional home. Most people do that. We live at a very lower level, and then occasionally when we go to a trip to Hawaii, or when we give birth, or when we get a promotion at work, or when we finally buy that new car that we really, really wanted, we take a little day trip up to a high vibrational frequency in our emotions. But then inevitably what happens is that we come back to our home baseline, which again is apathy, depression, anxiety, uncertainty, fear. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if I do this and this happens, right? Always kind of worrying about the future. And we see so many women who do all of the things and try to make themselves feel better and spend an inordinate amount of money on trying to make themselves feel better. And they think they've gotten it all figured out. And just when they think they're healed completely, they go out and start dating and meet another partner that they swear is the one because he's got everything. It feels like they're soulmates. The chemistry is off the charts. And without fail, every single time, it is the same pattern, yet worse than before. And it is because on some level, she is living, despite all of the things on the outside, she is living in a low level frequency. Her emotional home is very low. It's in the crapper, as we like to say. So the one thing that you need really in order to attract what you want is to learn to elevate your emotional home on a consistent basis. And when we work with clients, we really dive deep on gratitude. We dive deep on learning how to reprogram your brain and learn how to teach your body, trick your body, as we like to say, into believing that that reality that you want is already happening, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. And years ago, we used to do this in acting training. I used to be an actor years and years ago. But when you can believe 100% that what you want is already with you, what you want is already here, then you can you can choose those high level emotions. But what most people do is they look at their current reality, they look at their bank account, they look at all of the string of toxic exes that are in their wake, and they're like, oh my God, my life sucks. This is terrible. And then they go home and have a few drinks every single night in order to calm themselves down so that they can get some kind of quality sleep. And then they wake up and immediately start thinking about the problems again. And it's the same thing over and over again. And people who live like that usually seek something outside of themselves to feel better. But we see time and time again, and research shows time and time again, that it is never a solution. The solution happens when you learn how to live from a higher emotional home. Wake up in joy, wake up in gratitude, wake up feeling excited about your life. Even if your bank account is barren, even if you're embarrassed about your past, even if you're embarrassed that you stayed so long with your ex and you're scared to tell, a potential date about your baggage, whatever. When you can choose to live in a heightened emotional home, and the key word here is choose, in spite of what's going on around you, and choose to stay there, and then take occasional day trips down into the dumps, right, rather than living there your whole entire life, then things start to shift. then you don't need to do a lot of dating apps. And this is what we help our clients achieve. You don't need dating apps. You don't need a bunch of stuff. You don't need to do all of these strategic things in order to try and meet someone, because you are naturally going to be so magnetic to people. People will be drawn to you. And sadly, what we see is that many women who have a toxic pattern or have some kind of trauma, their belief is so strong that it's not possible, that they just can't do it, that they've been so burned that they can't trust anybody, and that there's nobody out there that could possibly be right for them unless he's boring, right? And so it's that belief that holds a lot of women back that we speak to every week. And the key is just learning to make a decision, learning to make a healthier choice, learning to make a series of healthier choices. And the biggest one being choosing to elevate your emotional home, choosing joy, choosing excitement, choosing enthusiasm, and choosing things in your life that are going to create those emotions, right? That means oftentimes getting out of your comfort zone and learning to kind of fake it until you make it, right? Your outer reality might not be where you want it right now, but you have the power to change that with your mind, with your heart, with your emotions, with your body. You have the power to rewrite history. We talk to a lot of women that think that after 30 years of dating unavailable men or being with narcissists and even being raised by narcissists, that they can't possibly have a healthy relationship because they have no idea what that looks like. And we are here to help women achieve the impossible. You can make miracles happen in your life with the power of your mind, and that's it. And it doesn't matter how tragic your past has been. It doesn't matter if your outer reality is crap right now and you're super frustrated. It doesn't matter if you've tried a million things or you've been in therapy for 20 years and you still keep attracting the same thing. You have the choice to choose differently. You have the power to change your reality. You have the power to make a miracle happen. So if anything that I said resonated with you today and you're like, I think I need a miracle because that's what it's going to take in order to get me over my hump, then book some time to chat with us, and we will be happy to walk you step by step exactly what it's going to take to get you where you want to be, to break any unhealthy patterns in your love life, any unhealthy patterns in your life, period, and help you rise into your truest, highest identity. So if that's you and you would like to speak about how we can help you do that, go to bethanydotson.com/apply, bethanydotson.com/apply. And I want to preface that this is for you if you are no longer involved in an abusive relationship. You're no longer involved with a toxic partner. You are done. You've been through the ringer too many times. You've tried everything. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you are ready for, this is it. This is your time to shine. Go to bethanydotson.com/apply and we will show you how to do that. So please leave me any questions or comments in the box below, and I look forward to seeing you later this week. Have a good one.